Time has abandoned us. We have slipped into a dim, unreal fold in its fabric, with no beginning or end in sight. Season follows season, the clouds drift overhead, fabulous white beasts and capricious gods in the noonday light. We are old before our time. We behave like housebound, fatalistic children, numbed and indifferent to life and death. Hi everyone, my name's Agnes and today I'll be reviewing War and Turpentine by Stefan Hertmans. This is a Belgian novel and it was translated from the Dutch by David McKay. By blurring the lines between fact and fiction, this novel recounts the life of the author's grandfather, Urbain Martin, who shortly before his death gave his grandson a set of his journals containing the memories of his life, and the author took these recollections and intertwined them with his own memories and ruminations to create this novel. Hertmans' grandfather Urbain was born at the end of the 19th century in Flanders, that was very poor, at a time when both the socialist movement and Christian organizations were trying to help the working class who were struggling in very difficult conditions, and Europe as a whole was still unaware that it was heading toward a catastrophe that would determine the course of his grandfather's life forever. A long first part of the novel is devoted to Urbain's childhood, growing up in poverty when he had to start working at an iron foundry from a very early age. His father was a painter who worked on frescoes in churches and was a very modest and religious man. And from him, Urbain inherited his piety and his great love for art and painting that was a constant consolation for him throughout his life. The middle and most important section of the novel is focused on Urbain's experiences during his service in the trenches of the First World War and the horrific trauma that he suffered, which essentially overshadowed his whole life. This section also marks a shift in the narrative. It feels like the author steps back from his lyrical prose in favor of his grandfather's stark and elegant first-person narration. And it's interesting that even though his grandfather started writing his memoirs 50 years after the war, his testimony of the brutality, cold degradation, and death that he experienced during the war is surprisingly intense and detailed and just harrowing to read. The third section of the novel returns to the author's own memories and discoveries that he has made about his grandfather's life. He's retracing the footsteps of his grandfather by visiting some of the sites of Urbain's memories and ruminating on the importance that these places had in his grandfather's life, and to explore how the passage of time has changed them. The title of the novel, War and Turpentine, two things that don't seem to go together, is actually a very accurate representation of the contradictions that defined Urbain's life. His dream of becoming a painter was derailed by the lasting horror of the Great War, and this contradiction between horror and beauty continued to be a recurring theme in the novel. Overall, I thought that through the recollections of his grandfather, an ordinary man of that time, the author managed to create a beautiful and moving portrait of a generation whose lives were shaped, broken and haunted by the First World War. I really liked it, and I hope this book gets shortlisted for the Man Booker International Prize. So let me know if you read it or you're planning to read it, and thank you for watching.